Coming up in the news, building with resilience. That's the plan going forward for the Fishing Hole Road Bridge. The Ministry of Health working to ensure that the public is properly educated. And Tabernacle Baptist Academy recovering following a fire. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, Northern Edition.
You're watching the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening all. I'm Shashina Roe-Farquharson. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping the news, a major effort underway to bring a sustained resolution to the challenges experienced at the Fishing Hole Road. While repairs to the bridge is a big part of that plan, according to the Minister for Disaster Preparedness and Reconstruction, a sustainable fix also includes some additional work in the area. Jamila Mizik reports.
One of the things that we are intending to do.
Minister of Disaster Preparedness, Management and Reconstruction, the Honorable Iram Lewis says, building with resilience is of particular importance as it relates to the island's infrastructure, especially since Hurricane Dorian. Now the government has announced plans for the Fishing Hole Road Causeway to be repaired, as it is a major concern for many residents. And the minister says they have assessed the risk, which they will address during this process. However, he notes that another concern is the lower level service road, but they're working to address that as well.
One of the issues that we normally face with at the lower road is that once we have a strong wind coming from the northeast, there's washout, the tide flows up and the road washes out. So if we are repairing the bridge and the lower road washes out, we have a serious problem. So in order to mitigate that and again to reduce the risk of that washout, we have erected a berm on the northern side, which will prevent the tide from rising and washing on the lower service road. So the contractor is great. He's brought in the necessary fill, and all along the northern perimeter of the service road, there's an elevated berm that will stop washout, so that in the event that there's a strong northerly wind and the tide rises, the service road will still be dry enough to allow persons to traverse east and west across the service road.
The minister says the long-term goal is to restore the natural flow that existed before the service road was built.
The service road was built back in the 60s or 50s to allow that to happen once again. So the intention is to construct culverts or flow through under the service road that will allow the water to flow through, because if it doesn't flow through in a natural form, east and west, back and forth, then it's going to rise. And once it rises, then it will go into the low-lying areas. So at the end of the day, the plan is, and we're working with the Ministry of the Environment, the Ministry of Works, to ensure that the proper design is done that will allow the necessary flow through to go from north to south, thereby eliminating rising and subsequently flooding.
Jamila Mizik, ZNS Network News.
In other news, the coronavirus continuing to make headlines across the world as more cases are being confirmed globally. Currently, there are no suspected or confirmed cases of the virus here in the Bahamas. The Ministry of Health has implemented and decimated a preparedness and action plan should it be deemed necessary. Now, recently, officials in the Ministry of Health hosted an informational meeting with healthcare officials on Grand Bahama. Megan Shepard has more.
Senior House Officer in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Sharita Moxie, shedding light on the ever-evolving coronavirus, also formerly known as COVID-19. While noting that the coronavirus is not new to the medical world, she explains more about this specific strain, COVID-19.
They've been described or defined in the medical community since the late 1960s. It's a family of viruses, a large family of viruses, and what they have in common, if you look structurally, what they have in common is this genetic core that's surrounded by an envelope, and then these spiky proteins that crown the envelope. And because of that crown, in Latin, crown means corona. So to dispel the myth again, the corona is not named after a popular beverage. It's Latin. It comes from it's a Latin derivative. And so the COVID-19 is a part of this corona family of viruses.
As scientists continue to study and to learn more about the virus, she adds that they have yet to identify the precise way the virus is transmitted.
We still yet don't know if it's transmitted by contacting or making contact with surfaces. We don't know that. But what we do know from these group of viruses is that COVID-19 behaves like the members of its family. It's a respiratory virus, and as such, it is transmitted through respiratory droplets. So if a person coughs or sneezes, if an infected person coughs or sneezes and you're in that vicinity, that's a mode of transmission.
Dr. Moxie says that clinical features can be mild or lead to death, and that some symptoms include fever, the cold, chills, kidney failure, or pneumonia. However, she emphasizes that not every cough or cold should immediately be labeled as COVID-19. There is still no cure for the virus at this time.
Scientists are still investigating the virus. But we know now is that there's no specific medication or treatment that you can take to cure yourself if you happen to become infected. There's no vaccine. A lot of the care that is afforded those who have the disease is supportive care, meaning if your lungs aren't functioning properly, we can give you oxygen. If you need support eating, we can feed you intravenously. If your kidneys are failing, we can assist with your kidney function. So it's supportive care and not vaccines or medicine, certainly no surgical interventions.
Now, Dr. Moxie says that proper hygiene practices is the best prevention at this time.
If we have a cough or a sneeze, covering our cough or sneeze with a tissue and discarding that tissue, sneezing or coughing in our elbows, washing our hands. If you are sick, you know, give the person next to you some breathing space, right?
Megan Shepard, ZNS Network News.
Investigations are continuing into that fire that caused damage to an apartment complex owned by Tabernacle Baptist Academy. Teacher at the school, Lazita Parker, says the building has been in existence since the 1950s and was the school's first main campus. She says they are relieved that no one was injured in that blaze on Saturday.
We received a call that the apartment is on fire. Well, we proceeded to go to the apartment, and because of the high blaze of the fire, we thought it was more than we anticipated. But after the firemen had out the fire, it was just the middle section of the apartment. There's no one occupying the building, okay? But according to the firemen, they said that in one of the apartments, probably squatters, they found a mattress and a hot plate. So they assume that's probably where the fire started.
Parker says a portion of that building was used for classrooms, and she also says that now, due to the blaze, that part of the classroom is out of commission.
Well, in the other parts of the building, we have some classes that go on there, high school classes that we have, like electrical and typing, so forth, accountant, we have over there. But because of that, they were affected in a little way, but our building doesn't have any insurance or anything. So because of that, we have to push down, and hopefully from the public we try to rebuild.
A Bimini man to be charged before the court this week on the charge of possession of an illegal firearm and ammunition. The 54-year-old of South Bimini was taken into custody around 11 a.m. yesterday in the area of a business establishment. Police say the man was brandishing a firearm, and officers were able to recover a black .9mm Glock pistol with one magazine with 13 live rounds of ammunition. And when we come back tonight, we will meet a young writer who is already making a big impression in the literary world.